Regular meeting of the Harnett County Board of Commissioners. At this time, I will call the meeting to order, and I will ask Vice Chairman Bill Morris if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow your heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the many blessings we receive, and please give us the guidance and the wisdom to make the right decisions for the people of Harnett County this evening. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. All right, this time we'll consider any additions and deletions to the published agenda.
Move to approve the agenda stands, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
A motion and second to approve the published agenda. Is there any further questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously, Madam Clerk. Entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously as well, Madam Clerk. Okay, item number 5, presentation of county's annual comprehensive finance report for FY24. Mr. Braswell, if you would, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman and members of the board, and allowing me to take some time out of your meeting tonight to go through your 6/30/2024 annual financial statements audit. This is a snapshot in time as of 6/30/2024. We issued an unmodified opinion, which means we issued a clean opinion that your financial statements are in accordance with GAAP, materially correct. Very cooperative staff. We do not take that lightly. Kimberly Honeycutt and everyone in the finance department, to every department that we work with, from HR to social services, health, everyone provides us very timely responses, able to get your audit completed. You have a lot of information. You have a very large report, so it takes a lot of people and a lot of time to get everything together. So we do appreciate that, and every one of your staff that works very, very hard on this audit. No findings or question calls, no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies to note to the board, nothing like that. So that is all positive. So here you'll see the 3-year kind of comparatives here of the gradual increase in your fund balance. This is total fund balance in your general fund. You can see from 2022 to 2024 there. So you had an increase of roughly $25 million total fund balance in your general fund. And on this next slide, we'll show the breakdown of the assignments and various commitments that you have on your fund balance. So your fund balance position in the general fund, your total fund balance from the previous slide of about 150, about 150 million. Take out your non-spendables. This is inventory, prepaids, and leases. Take out your stabilization by state statute. This is accounts receivable or money that you have not received in yet that is available for appropriation. Your committed fund balance. This is committed for debt service. Assigned fund balance. This is for various internal constraints, either by you, the board, or by the finance department itself. This is general government, public safety, subsequent years expenditures that are appropriated, as well as culture and rec, to give you an unassigned fund balance of roughly $57.3 million. And you can see compared to 2023, had an increase of roughly $6 million increase in unassigned fund balance. And to kind of show your reserves on hand at year end, you can see comparatives 2023 to 2024. So you take your unassigned fund balance that we discussed on the previous slide, divide that into your expenditures for the current year, and you come up with roughly 33% unassigned fund balance available there. So this is roughly 4 months supply on hand. 8 months is typically 1 month supply on hand per LGC statute or per LGC requirement there. So roughly 4 months supply on hand. Reason comparatives there that both years are 33%. Your unassigned increased $6 million that we saw on the previous slide, but your expenditures increased about $15 million. So it offset there. And you can see your general fund summary, 2023 to 2024, had an increase in revenue of close to $7 million, and expenditures increased close to $16 million. And we'll go into a few of your top revenue sources and top expenditure functions in the next few slides. Property tax, that's going to be your main driver, your largest revenue source for the county. About $4 million increase or 5% increase in property valuation there in the current year. Roughly $83.8 million total property tax revenue for 2024. Other taxes and licenses, this is mainly going to be your sales tax revenue. And so about $500,000, about $500,000 increase or 1 to 2%. Slight growth, not as much as we've seen in the past, but overall still some growth and consistent there. Restricted intergovernmental, this is going to be your federal and state grant revenue. And so over the past few years with the pandemic and everything like that, you can see that you had a slight decrease there of about $2.93 million there, or roughly 10%. And that's just due to a little bit less grant activity due to the pandemic, over the past few years that you've gotten additional funding. Top 3 expenditure functions, human services, increase of about $3.5 million or 12%. Increase in salaries and benefits for health and social services in the current year was the main driver of that increase in human service expenses. Education, about a $3.6 million increase or 11%. Current expense for public schools was up about $2 million, and capital outlay increased about 1.5 to come up with your total increase of roughly 3.6 million. Public safety increased about $4.2 million or about 9%, and this is mainly due to pay increases for emergency personnel, sheriff personnel, and jail personnel as well. And then to touch base on your 2 enterprise funds, your water and sewer and your solid waste there. Water and sewer fund had an increase in net position, and your unrestricted net position, if you compare it to your general fund that we were just talking about, your unassigned fund balance, your unrestricted net position would be a very similar comparative there. So about $97.7 million. And so compare that to the prior year, that is you had an increase there, fairly substantial increase in your water and sewer unrestricted net position. Your cash flow from operations, and so what we're trying to compare here is your cash flow from operations and your debt service. Do you have adequate cash flow to provide debt service coverage there? And so you have adequate cash flow from operations to cover that debt service. So all positives in the water and sewer fund. Solid waste, same as the last slide, we're comparative here. Unrestricted net position or unassigned fund balance, about $7.5 million in the solid waste fund. This is an increase from the prior year as well. Cash flow from operations, adequate cash flow to cover that debt service of about $140,000. And so all positive there, increases in the solid waste fund as well. And just to kind of show your enterprise fund's operating income, this is full accrual. This includes non-cash items such as depreciation expense and various other expenses there. So positive operating income in both the water, sewer, and solid waste fund there. And that is all I have. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Any questions or comments? Yes, sir. Very much.
Thank you, sir. If you have any other questions, anything like that, just let Kimberly or myself know, and we'll get back to you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to open the floor for a public comment period. Period is going to consist of up to an hour, allowing 5 minutes per presentation. Got a sign-up sheet here. Mr. Jay Sills. I didn't see Jay. No. All right, we'll move on. William Criswell, the second. Sir.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you guys today. My name is William Criswell. My address is 135 Morgan Farm Drive, Lillington, North Carolina, 27546. I'm here today requesting that the board discuss and consider the removal of fluoride from our water supply. Despite recent court rulings and the Surgeon General of Florida recommending its removal, I am not requesting that you debate fluoride as a treatment for tooth decay prevention versus potential neurotoxic risk and lowering IQ scores that have been in the news recently. I'm asking that you discuss informed consent to a medical treatment. Fluoride, which is sometimes obtained as fluorosilicic acid as a phosphate fertilizer byproduct, has no role in providing clean water to the public. Even if we were to assume that fluoride is 100% safe and effective, should our community have the right to choose the medical treatments that it gives to its families? This is also a medical treatment being given to pregnant nursing mothers and children, which are protected vulnerable populations. If anyone would not want this medical treatment, has there been informed consent? And has their government chosen a medical treatment for them for their own good? Topical fluoride treatments are widely and readily available in most stores in our county. And it is cheap, and anyone that wants more can receive more. It is also being offered topically at every pediatric visit and dental clinics. We must also consider the burden to a resident to remove fluoride from the water supply, which can be difficult and costly. Thank you very much for your consideration for this request to remove the medical treatment of fluoride from our water supply, and I appreciate the board and those that work at the Water Supply Treatment Center to provide us with high-quality water. May God continue to bless all of you and give you wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Jerry Rivas.
Good evening, Jerry Rivas. I noticed the Sewer and Water Department has a $10 million profit. About every 60 days, I have to spray my shower stall down with pure bleach to get rid of the brown stain that our kind of water leaves. So for the sake of all the citizens of the county, they need to clearly mark the sewer and water pipes because I think they're getting them mixed up. Now, moving on, what was it, the end of August, beginning of September, WRAL released a statement by Sheriff Wayne Coates lauding the fact that he's going to have body cameras on the deputies starting in November. Well, here it is, middle of December, no body cameras. And I'm hearing now that it won't be till January. Congratulations to Sheriff Coates. It only will have taken him 25 years to step into the 21st century. What a wonderful department. And I notice we have a new commissioner. And being the curious type, whenever somebody runs for public officer, I start trying to learn what I can about that person. And I'm very disturbed at some of the things I've found out. When Commissioner Jaggers was the chief of police of Coates, he was sued at least 4 different times for police brutality and rights violations. Sued in December of 2009, March of 2010, June of 2010, August of 2010. All 4 people that he arrested and charged with various crimes had all their charges dismissed, thrown right out of court. But this man has been sued for false arrest, false imprisonment, assault and battery, malicious prosecution, infliction of emotional distress, and excessive force. When him and his officers were mistreating one arrestee so bad that the man's mother objected, this brave man tased this woman. That's a brave man, tase an old woman. That takes a lot of guts. But hey, when you're a bully with a badge, you can get away with that stuff. Then the man resigns as the chief of police of Rayford. He couldn't even make it in Hope County. But it gets even better. As a deputy in Harnett County, this guy throws a flashbang underneath a sheriff's department car where a deputy was asleep. It blows up and causes extensive damage to the car. He files a false report. Tries to say the flashbang was lost during training. And then I hear from other sources that he will not approve a sheriff's department budget as long as Gary McNeil is employed by the sheriff's department. That takes some unmitigated gall to publicly announce that you're going to use your position of authority to get even for an old grudge. Congratulations, Harnett County. It is now 1924, not 2024. And that is a poor excuse for a commissioner, a police officer, and a human being. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Richard Chapman.
Richard Chapman, 5220 Christian Light Road. Good evening. Welcome to the new County Commission. I greatly appreciate your retaining the public comment period in your meetings and expanding the time limit to 5 minutes per speaker. Those are very good things, but they're not the only things. Just as important is what you have to say, and we never hear any of that. All the public ever hears are comments, concerns, and important history lessons from Commissioner McCoy. Very little, almost nothing from the rest of you, excluding, of course, Commissioner Jaggers, who just got here, and I hope will not follow that lead. 5 minutes from me is all well and good, and I plan on continuing to make comments and make suggestions for how you can do your jobs better. But I believe the voters of this county would rather hear from you than from me. If I'm worth 5 minutes every so often, aren't you worth 5 minutes? Call it a commissioner comment period. 5 minutes from each of you to respond to ideas raised at this podium, to express opinions on your goals for the county, your plans to bring them about, your ideas for improving the lives of the people who elected you? Something? Anything? During this recent election, I talked to literally hundreds of voters in canvassing. In nearly every conversation, at some point, I would say, you know, our schools are struggling. We really have to fix them. And never, not one time, did a voter push back at me and say, what are you talking about? I think our schools are in fine shape. Yet, I've never heard anyone on this board talk about the state of our schools, or perhaps how to academically turn them around, and how the county can help. Wrong forum, you say? That's the school board's job? Not when you hold the purse strings and are and should be the big dog in this county. You need to speak out the way leaders do, influencers. You didn't get elected solely to sit here and pass budget amendments. You got elected because you have a plan. Great. Let's hear it out loud at commissioner comment periods or some other forum, such as commission district town halls or public forums. Seems to me the public needs that. It seems to me those are good ideas. And it seems to me that's your job. Thank you.
Sir. This time I will now close the public comment period. We will move on to public input on the recommended capital improvement plan.
During our recent work session, we reviewed the county manager's capital improvements program. This comprehensive plan includes 72 projects, including everything from a road extension to park improvements. We have carefully considered the costs, funding sources, and project scope for 15 new projects. We also have 38 ongoing projects and 19 future projects. Tonight, we would like to hear your thoughts on our current projects, our plans for the future, and any new ideas you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This time I'll now open the floor for a public input session for the recommended county improvement plan or capital improvement plan. Floor is now open if anybody would like to get up and speak.
I actually have not had time to review the CIP. I would like to, and I would like to make some comments. So I would appreciate it if you could perhaps defer the public forum portion of this for another session to give us a little bit more time. The holidays have been busy. everybody's been busy. It's a really important document, and I think some public comment is warranted. So if that's at all possible, I would request that.
Sir, last week we had a work session where we went over the capital improvement program, and that's actually a session where you tune in that the commissioners kind of voice their opinions on certain things. So I would be inclined to point you towards that. But this has been on the agenda for today, and we've outlined this time for public input. So
I understand that. I attended that session, so I heard it, and it was positive. But
would you like to comment on it at all?
what I remember of it, it looked like a fine plan. I think we're in the right direction. I have faith in Lisa and her department, and how she puts it together. I don't have any specific quibbles, but perhaps I could bring them up at a separate occasion. That would be it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
I wasn't here at the work session, and it's a very comprehensive plan. I just want, the comment is the schools have the biggest budget, which makes sense. And I know we're also talking about that big financial plan that you've put together, Ms. Honeycutt, in relationship, how those dovetail together. But the other thing that I see is your second largest expenditure here is the Harnett County Jetport, and at $30 million. And I certainly hope we can see that produce some money and some income for our county, because to hear that we only collected $500,000 more in sales tax last year, yikes, we could use a lot more than that to help fund these projects. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Seeing no one move, I will now close the floor for the public input on the recommended CIP. This time we will now, do we need a motion in order for?
No, the budget, the CIP will be on the January 6th agenda for approval, for consideration by the board.
Okay. All right, thank you. This time we will discuss and consider a request for approval to contract with Kairos Government Affairs for lobbying services.
Thank you, Chairman. We had a discussion last time when we had a work session about hiring of a government affairs unit in order to provide lobbying services to the county. I went through an RFP review, and from that, based on cost and performance and what was offered in their presentations, to consider Kairos. But I want to go back to more of why we need to consider the use of a lobbying firm. I found that it is very helpful for me as we go through a session to have someone that's there checking on what is being proposed at the General Assembly every day. And so that is very helpful for, I feel, the county, in order to be able to ensure that we're ready for whatever might come. Also, they provide us the opportunity with their connections to meet with various individuals that we may not have access to in order to pursue, especially funding for various projects. Last session was a short session, and actually, in some people's consideration, a very short session. And so there wasn't an opportunity as much to be able to pursue grant funding for projects. I think, though, as we look at the next session, other than the constraints they may be under with the impacts of the hurricane on the western side of the state, there's going to be opportunities for funding of various projects still from some of the funds that they have, specifically tied to projects of interest of ours. And so I'd like to continue to use this service, and we've had discussions about the possibility that they would do a year-to-year contract. And so given that consideration, we could at least move forward with trying it again for another year and seeing how we receive what they provide for us, and if we want to continue it in general. I think if the decision is to continue, I believe Kairos is the organization that will best fit our needs and is the best price for the service.
Thank you, sir. Ms. McCoy? I already see you switching.
I'm at loss whether to support this or not, because I really haven't seen any incredible evidence or information from this lobbying firm that we are paying this astronomical figure for. And I think it was really shameful that when this bill came up, 382, is that right? 382. I knew about it. And don't want to lie to you, because I knew about it and I have been protesting it. Not for everything that's in the bill, because it's going to take away our rights to govern this county, especially when it comes to land. I can't understand why I knew about it, but the rest of the board sit here and act just like they didn't have any knowledge of it. And I personally feel that if you're going to pay this kind of money to a lotterying company, they should keep us informed of what's going on up there. Not only for Brent, it's for the whole board. As I said last week, this county is going in the wrong direction with all of these housing and rooftops built in this county. And now they're limiting our rights to even say anything about the zoning. That's in the bill. And there are many other things in that bill that is going to limit this board from making decisions for this county. I am not pleased with that. I'll be honest with you. And I'm not trying to be facetious, I'm just telling you the truth. Now, the least I feel that a lobby should do will let us know what's coming up that's going to affect this county. I have not seen that. And if I hadn't spoke to Brent, I don't think we'd have had to print out about what they have done. So that's my say. And whatever we do, I cannot believe our state representatives knew what was in the bill and voted for the bill. I'm not angry, but I'm saying, and when you're trying to take down the government of this state as well as the county, that's something to look at, and that's something for us to have a clear understanding of what we are getting. We didn't have that. That's all I gotta say.
Anybody else?
I can lobby. We all can lobby. There's one day out of the year that they ask that the county elected officials that represent this county commissioners, come to Raleigh to lobby on issues. And Cody goes. I've been up there, I've seen him up there, but I haven't seen any of this board here up there. Now, we are here representing the citizens of this county, and we are the governing body of this county. You have a huge responsibility, and that responsibility is to the taxpayers of this county.
Pleasure of the board.
You need a motion, Mr. Chairman.
That would be beneficial one way or another.
I move that we don't hire lobbyists.
Motion on the floor to not hire a lobbying firm at this time.
I second.
A motion and a second. that we will not hire a lobbying firm at this time. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously, Madam Clerk. Moving on to the county manager's report, Mr. Trout.
Thank you, Chairman. A few items to bring up. Reminder that we have a citizen information session tomorrow night at 6 p.m. here in the RCL building. We'll have presentations and then be available to answer questions. There will be no board meeting until January 6th. Reminder that county offices will be closed over the Christmas holiday from December 24th through the 26th, and we'll have notices posted on the building. I do need a motion to approve the budget amendments as requested by Finance Officer.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
I have a motion and second to approve budget amendments as requested by the finance officer. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously, Madam Clerk. Do we have a need for any new business?
No.
Do we have a need for closed session?
Mr. Chairman, I move the board go into closed session for the following purposes: to consult with the county's legal counsel in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege concerning the handling of certain litigation, including the following listed cases. Number one, Jameson C. and all versus Roy Cooper and all, U.S. District Court for the Western District of North Carolina, file number 324-CV00783 FDW DCK. And number two, Jamie Guys versus Shanae Whitehead and all, Harnett County Superior Court, file number 24-CV3006-420.
So moved.
A motion and a second for closed session. We will now go ahead and convene in closed session. Open, call this meeting back to order.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. We are adjourned.
Mr. Jaggers,